and welcome to the Drawing Room Experts. This is Zaib, back with another edition of dilemmas. और इस week के dilemma, a little bit of a backstory here is I was recently at a party and I was speaking to this gentleman from Texas. Met him first time. Really nice guy, and we were talking about billionaires, and we were talking about like your Elon Musks and your Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and the likes. And the discussion was pretty interesting. I think both of us, in fair honesty, I think both had in good points that we made as during the course of that discussion. And immediately I thought, that this would be a nice discussion to narrate and really try and reach some sort of a conclusion if I can, as part of the podcast. And what we discussed was, we're talking about billionaires and how effectively they've made their money and they've made their mark. And what was the underlying discussion in essence was that you have to be a little bit of an asshole to be a billionaire. um and if you are not that, then you can't make money. So I was obviously, my my opinion on that was, yes, you have to be an asshole. I agree with that. But I think um the choice that one makes to become a billionaire or make lots of money, and one of the things that they decide on is, that if they want to do that, they will have to approach it from an asshole perspective, right? Case in point, I'll give you like a couple of things. Like, we talked about Elon Musk, being an asshole to the local government here, the time the COVID crisis hit. And he was just not prepared to shut down his factory because of health concerns. The local authorities were forcing him, like every other business in the region, to close down their offices and factories and allow the people to work from home, and to really stop the spread of COVID. And he vehemently denied doing that. And then, as a tantrum, he ended up deciding that he wanted to move out of California, and he ended up moving his factories, or is in the process of moving his factory, if I remember correctly, to Austin, Texas. So behavior like that is a good indication why he's a billionaire. Was the point of this person that I was talking to. Similarly, we talked about Jeff Bezos and his inability to pay his workers well, or create an environment where they have to defecate in delivery bags or pee in bottles, which is of course a huge cause for concern here in the U.S., and especially from the Bernie camp, that these billionaires, especially Jeff Bezos, in that instance, Amazon, is creating an environment where these people, they are having to make these decisions that, in order for me to make that delivery happen, which we pretty easily pick up our phones and put an order on Amazon, and off we're done, right? Off we go on our ways. That worker, that delivery worker in that situation, is making those calls because he needs to make those deliveries happen in a day for Prime or less, right? So the environment that these billionaires, especially case in point Jeff Bezos, has created at Amazon, is the reason why he's a billionaire, because they're cutthroat, they know what they want, and they make those tough decisions like be an asshole. You can't, the gentleman's argument was, you can't be in that position. You can't be a powerful billionaire. You can't be, as successful as these guys are, if you don't have that asshole streak in you. Now, unpacking this, and I love saying unpacking for some reason. This argument, um, I agree that that's the case, right? unfortunately, you have to be an asshole to be in that position. Um, but then here's my rebuttal. Um, what if you don't have to do that? What if you just be a billionaire, you know, by paying your workers well? What if they don't have to defecate in delivery bags? What if they don't have to pee in bottles? What if they don't have to catch COVID or be in a very difficult position and be forced to come to work when the regulatory authorities and health officials are suggesting you don't mingle with people, right? What if you become a billionaire by not doing any of those things? Then you may come back to me and say, well, then you won't be a billionaire. So you're putting a problem in front of me, right? You're saying that this can't be done. I'm pretty sure someone told Jeff Bezos when he was starting an end-to-end business like he did with Amazon that, oh, dude, this is this is a lot of work. It can't be done. You want to make deliveries happen in 24 hours? That requires an elite level of supply chain management. That can't be done. What? You're going to have electric cars when everyone just, is using gas and petrol? It can't be done. What? You're going to have a company that's going to take people to Mars? Can't be done. You are telling me that you will create a company that will help NASA take their astronauts over to the International Space Station, drop them off like it's fucking Uber, and come back home. Can't be done. So both of these guys in their long and decorated history of success have faced it can't be done. So you're telling me, in context to these two people, that it can't be done. You can't be a nice. Well, when I say nice, it doesn't mean that you're just allowing people to run all over you. Of course not. When I say nice, it's just doing the right thing, basically. Not having your people defecate in boxes or bags. That's not much to ask. I'm just being the ultimate, minimum nice, right? Coordinating with authorities. Let the authorities run you, not the other way around. That's why we all pay taxes, because we want to be protected from people who serve their own interests in our society, like corporations. We look towards the government to help us in those situations where these billionaires, if I was working for Tesla and Elon Musk was pushing this whole idea that, in the midst of a pandemic, don't skip work, and forget what your local county and your local health officials are suggesting. You must come to work, or else you're fired. I want my government to be in that position to look after me, right? To protect me, that I don't lose my job over this bullshit. So, when people say it can't be done, I basically go back to their own lives, these billionaires' own life. Someone told them it can't be done, and they still did it. So all of a sudden now, just being basically nice human beings is where they draw the line and say, no, I can take fucking, a Uber to the moon. But if you want me to pay my workers well, nah, I can't do that. That's ridiculous, right? Um, and then the other part that I was really interested in, which I actually didn't end up discussing with the gentleman, but I thought about it myself. I was like, why are we so obsessed with this idea of billionaires and millionaires? I mean, I ended up quoting him an example of uh, Costco, this huge convenience store chain here in the U.S. If anyone's not familiar with it, so Costco, and don't quote me on this. I didn't read too much about this, but what I know from certain articles I've read and certain people I've spoken to, Costco is a company that really pays their employees well, and gives them holidays when it's, required, and it's a state holiday and or a federal holiday, then they all of them get a holiday, and if someone has to work, they get a time and a half pay. um the owner of that whole enterprise is not a billionaire, is a millionaire, right? But he's a millionaire, some people suggest, because he's doing these things where he's basically protecting his workers. um and for him to become a billionaire, he has to do what these other guys, the Elon Musks of this world, are doing, where they're like fucking cutthroat and they don't care about people and they're just running through them and getting what they want. So my question, that I would pose to anyone listening and watching me, um, why do we conflate success with this tag of billionaire millionaires, right? Are we suggesting that having money and extreme amounts of it is what constitutes success? If that's the case, I think we may have to go back to the drawing board and really reimagine the whole definition. Um, because you really make a call to become an asshole, to be a billionaire in order to get to that place, because you aspire in your head that being the billionaire in that situation is what success constitutes. Um, and I am fundamentally against that whole principle. Is it bad to make money? Of course not. Go make as much as money you want. But the cost of making money, if that means that you have to bullshit, and it's none of it's illegal, by the way. These companies don't do anything illegal. It's just unethical. Um, and it's unfortunate because having paying your workers basic pay and having them be securing them and giving them the best environment where they can be protected, that should be a law. But if okay, fine, if it's not a law for some reason, so it's not illegal for Elon and Jeff Bezos of this world to do what they do. But it's unethical for sure, right? So um, it's it's unfortunate that we've conflated our success definition to making this unending amount of money, and because we put that up on the pedestal and we think that that's what we have to set out to achieve. So anything that comes in between is something I have to get over. Like, it's a hurdle. Being nice is a hurdle. Being fair and ethical is a hurdle. So I have to get over it to cross that line and to get to the top. So I think that's where the problem lies. It's not becoming the billionaire. It's the urge and need and desire to be there at any cost. Is that's what the problem is. So um, I thought it was a very interesting discussion between me and the gentleman at the party, and that got me thinking too. And I think fundamentally we all have to kind of be in that position where we dream of being, the Mark Zuckerbergs of this world. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is another example, right? Whatever he's doing is not illegal, but him selling my data or your data or anyone's data over to other companies like um, Cambridge Analytica is unethical, and maybe probably illegal too, but unethical predominantly, because I didn't sign up on Facebook for 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 Mark Zuckerberg to make money off of my information. No, I'm pretty sure you didn't as well. So in the constant battle between legal and ethical slash moral, um, or in a world where there's the lines are blurred between the two, I always lean towards um, what's ethical and what's moral, because I think that's a good standard of a good standard of judging your own actions. That okay, it might be not might not be illegal what I'm doing, but is it ethical, right? Is it the right thing to do? Um, and if the answer is no, then right? You know what to do with that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's something that I've experienced here in the U.S. as well, where being a billionaire is like almost exclusively want to be an entrepreneur because they want to be a billionaire or millionaires. When both of these people, like types of people, the um, Costco owners of this world and Tesla owners of this world, they're probably eating the same amount of food every day, probably roundabout thereabouts. So all that extra money is just for pomp. It's just pompous to be a billionaire, in my opinion, because it just doesn't serve anything. I'm not really. I can't eat more than what I already eat, so it doesn't make sense to me. Um, Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and on other audio my audio platforms that have my podcast, like Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's also on Audible if anyone uses that for podcasts, and Podbean, which is the platform hosting my podcast primarily. So, with that, we'll be back with another one. An interesting dilemma for you guys. Until next time, cheers.